Hey everyone, welcome to day 6 of my series on using dewormers correctly in goats. For the first 5 days, I talked about Safeguard, valbazen, ivermectin, moxidectin, which is also cyductin, and levamisole. And today I'm going to be talking about Morantel tartrate. This is probably the most misunderstood of all the dewormers because it's pellets. And so some people think of this as medicated feed, and they confuse it with what is really medicated feed that's fed every day. So normally when we talk about medicated feed, we are talking about a feed that is fed every single day for 3 or 4 weeks. And you usually feed that to kids around the time that they're weaned. And it's got a coccidiostat in it, which inhibits the growth of coccidia, the reproduction of coccidia, so that a kid doesn't wind up with an overload of coccidia when they're going through a stressful time, such as weaning or moving to a new home. This is a dewormer, so it is only given one time, and it is a feed, but it's not, they don't really get very much of it at all, which is the thing that really sets this apart from what we really call medicated feed. Because like you see this like little bitty bag here, this is 3 pounds of feed, and this is meant to deworm 50 goats. So obviously they're not getting a lot. If we look at the label on here, it says like a 50-pound goat would get 4 ounces. So that's obviously not a meal for a goat. This is a top dress. So whatever your goat, so if you've got some goat feed, 16% protein goat feed that you're feeding, or if you're feeding or if you've got some alfalfa pellets or something, you would mix this in with what you're normally feeding them. You want to make sure that you have all the goats separated so that the pushy goats don't wind up consuming more and the shy goats wind up consuming so little that it doesn't help them at all. Now, the thing about this dewormer is that it is really wimpy. Experienced goat owners don't use this. It's usually just new goat owners who buy it because it looks like it's so easy to use because you can just feed it to the goat. So they love the idea that you're not having to force something down the goat's throat, which, of course, goats don't like that. But goats don't necessarily want this food. And so they don't necessarily want this medicine sprinkled on their food. So there's no guarantee that they're going to eat it. In fact, I quit buying this. I haven't bought this in years because it was just very frustrating how many goats wouldn't eat it, especially kids. Like kids get very freaked out if you separate them from the herd. And it doesn't matter whether they're bottle fed or dam raised. If they are separated out by themselves and put in someplace alone, they just run back and forth screaming. They're not going to eat anything. So then you're, and maybe they nibbled a little bit of this. So then you're stuck with the fact that like, oh, they got seriously underdosed with a dewormer. And you're going to have to give them a different dewormer anyway. So when I interviewed Dr. Posado, who was the author behind the 3rd revision of the American Consortium of Small Ruminant Parasite Control, he did the revision of their parasite dewormer chart. I asked if he ever recommended this, and he said no, because I have never heard of a vet recommending this. Vets are usually going to recommend those first 4 dewormers that I talked about: Safeguard, valbazen, ivermectin, or moxidectin. Those are by far the 4 most commonly used dewormers in goats. And they're all being used off-label. None of them are actually being used on label. Even you might think Safeguard is because it says goat dewormer on it, but it's not, because you have to use it at twice the label dosage. So that makes it off-label. And the valbazen has goats on there, but it is only for treating liver flukes, which most of our goats do not have. But it does kill intestinal worms, but for whatever reason, the manufacturer did not bother to get approval to treat intestinal worms in goats with valbazen. It is approved in sheep, so it seems strange to me, but those the dewormer company did not ask me for my opinion on that. So, and that one, I don't really know why they only got approval for liver flukes, but the consortium members have studied valbazen extensively in goats and found that it works very well to kill intestinal worms if it is used at twice the dosage on the label. So as we have talked about already, all of the dewormers are used at twice the dosage on the label, except for levamisole, which is used at 1.5. However, the math with levamisole gets crazy tricky, which is why I recommend that you just check the consortium's chart for levamisole and just use their instructions on page 2 for that. Using this is almost impossible to figure out in how to translate this to the other dewormers, because this is really just for one particular feed. As it says down here, Rumetel or Morantel tartrate is sold in so many different concentrations. The dosage on the chart above is for Dervet Rumetel. With Dervet Rumetel, you feed 0.1 pounds per 100 pounds of goat body weight. But there's another product that you feed a pound of the dewormer to 100 pounds of the body weight. So you want to make sure that you read the label on those if you do choose to use them. The only time I ever used them before was if I was doing a combination dewormer and wanted to use all 3 classes. And tomorrow I am going to be talking about combination dewormers, when you use those, why you use them, and what exactly that means. One little hint I'm going to give you ahead of time is that if you see horse dewormers in the store that have 2 dewormers in them, that is not a combination dewormer for goats. So I'm going to give you a lot more information tomorrow about combination dewormers in goats. If you've got any questions about this, you can post in the comments section below. Bye for now.